which I'm Nate Monley. I'm the director of the Aspire Teacher Residency Program. We serve schools in 3 regions of California and in Memphis, Tennessee.
Tell me why Aspire Teacher Residency came to be. What was the impetus for launching a residency program?
Yeah, it's probably what you would guess. Our principals and some of our teachers and some of our other leaders in the organization felt like the teachers coming out of traditional schools of ed had to go through a long onboarding process. And we put so much energy into training them that we felt like, why don't we just train our own teachers? And we had this wonderful leader. We have this wonderful leader in our organization, Heather Kirkpatrick, who really took it on along with a couple other people to try to get this thing started. And so it was in 2010, I believe, was the year that she and Allie Leslie and I don't know if Jeff was on board at that time, but they reached out to UTRU at that time, now NCTR. They reached out to NCTR. They reached out to UTRU. What should I say there if it's in the past?
NCTR is good.
Did you just like stick with that, even if it's in the past?
Stick with it.
Okay.
We're just pretending that it came.
Fantastic.
Okay.
So Heather reached out to NCTR, and they were instrumental in helping us get the program started. And it's grown from a cohort. I believe the first cohort was 16 or 17 residents, and this year we will have 55.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit about how the Aspire Teacher Residency engages with NCTR. What are some of the activities that you've taken part in?
Yeah, so we've been involved with NCTR and been supported by NCTR on a variety of levels. I think one thing everybody points to is the early days of our program. We couldn't have gotten the program off the ground without NCTR. If you look at the founding documents of our program, you'll see the support from NCTR all over them. I remember when I first joined the program, one of the first things I got were a couple big boxes of binders from some of the different events that were full of different resources that were part of forming our program and continue to be foundational in our program. As we developed, our support from NCTR developed as well. One really important moment in that support, or season in that support, I should say, was a collaboration that we did through NCTR with the Denver Teacher Residency, which was around innovation site work. And for us, that meant examining our practice with our mentor teachers. We came to a place of realizing that if we were going to take the next step as a residency, we had to focus on developing our mentors. They were the ones that were going to stay with our program year after year. They were the ones that were with the residents all day, every day. And so in partnership with the Denver Teacher Residency, we examined several practices with NCTR, both here in Chicago. We came out here. They also came out to California to see what we were doing, and through that we developed a whole new way of working with our mentors, a new mentor scope and sequence. We work with them more often. We have several specific things that we do differently, and then I think just as important is our mindset. When we go to our school sites to visit with our mentors and residents, we think of it as a time to visit with our mentors primarily. None of that would have happened without the support of NCTR. And currently, it's gone to a new level, even at today's convening, the 2015 convening, talking about using content and college and career readiness standards as a way to focus our work. It's a natural next step for us. So whether by design or by lucky serendipitous fortune, we have been met every step of the way by NCTR at the just right spot for us.
Tell me a little bit about how NCTR helps you form a professional learning community with other residency programs.
Yeah, that is a very unique support provided by NCTR. I think many of the other supports that they offer us conceivably we could find them in other places, right? Thinking about the mentor work, thinking about how to structure a scope and sequence, that kind of thing. But connection with other residency programs, that could not be provided by anyone else other than NCTR. So how does NCTR provide us with opportunities to network with and learn from other residency programs? A variety of ways. Multiple events throughout the year. One of my favorites is the rounds. We get together and examine a specific problem of practice in the context of a school, do instructional walkthroughs with that lens, talk through issues that really are generalizable to our specific contexts, but we do them with folks from Nashville and from Boston and from Denver, from all over the country, from Seattle. And additionally, along with the geographical differentiation is different stages in their program's development. It's fun and informative to see a residency program in its first year addressing this problem, or a program like Boston Teacher Residency that's been around for a long time, how they are approaching it. And that happens really through NCTR. Another piece that started, I think it started this year, if not maybe last, but anyway, another recent piece of support that draws residency programs together are our calls. So we have some, I don't remember the precise name. What's the precise name for those calls?
They are called.
I want to call them the right thing.
I said them earlier.
There is a name.
Hold on. Network Inquiry Cycle.
Okay.
So the network inquiry
So
cycle.
another way that NCTR helps us in a very unique fashion that I think only they could do is in setting up the network inquiry cycle. I think of them as conference and video calls, but it's a chance for us to come together around a common issue or problem of practice, or something that all of us are thinking about in different residencies, but we get to bounce ideas off each other and serve as thought partners. Recently, I sit in on one about what makes for a data literate resident, and what makes for a data, like what are the objectives for data literacy inside a residency program. We have talked about that inside of our program for years. We had just had a meeting where we were looking at our data syllabus for the course we look at for this, and I go to this call with the other residency programs and hear what they're doing, and we ended up with 5 objectives coming out of that call, and I think like 2 of those were part of the original conversation we had with our just inside of our own organization. So we really made a lot stronger by having thought partners, which was facilitated by NCTR and really couldn't have happened anywhere else.
Am I correct that you guys hosted instructional rounds a couple years ago? Maybe?
We did.
Talk
In
about like the problem of practice, and
oh boy,
what were some of the things, or what were, as the host,
Yeah.
what were some of the things you took away from having people come in and really dive deep into something
Yep.
you guys were facing, the challenges
Yep.
you were facing?
So in the spring of 2014, Aspire Public Schools hosted the rounds for NCTR. It was at our Berkeley Maynard Academy in Oakland, and the problem of practice was around how do we ensure that residents are really getting a rigorous learning experience, and there was this theme of rigor, and so partners flew out from all over the country and did walkthroughs in the school, and then Shari and some of the other NCTR leaders helped all of us to think through these problems and come up with concrete ideas. And one thing that they did then, and I love that NCTR does, is really robust follow-up. Like, it's never a conversation and we walk out and we're done. There's always a lot of follow-up. There's at the next year, like, how is that continuing on, and not just an open-ended question, but there will be some tools for you to use with your team. They, whenever they send a spreadsheet, there's a tab on the end of it about how do you talk with your team about this, and what are some questioning prompts that you can use. So everything's done in a very thoughtful way. That is particular instructional rounds experience for us, having it at our schools with our kids in our specific context. That school had, I think, 4 or 5 former residents there. They had 3 or 4 current residents there, a variety of alumni, a variety of mentor teachers that had been mentor teachers over the course of years. And actually, their current principal is a mentor alum, so really has been kind of an incubator for our residents. So it was a point of pride and a point of inquiry when all of our partners came out, which was really a rich source of learning for us, and we're very thankful to have had it and hope to have it again in the future.
Tell me a little bit about the impact that Aspire Teacher Residency has had on Aspire Public Schools.
Our residency program has had a tremendous impact on our schools. The mission of our program is to impact student achievement by recruiting, training, and retaining excellent teachers. And so you think about that from like 3 places. Recruiting. So our program's had a really strong impact on our schools in that we recruit parents, after school educators. We even have some alumni from our schools coming through. So we offer this opportunity for stakeholders in our school communities, like a path that is very possible for them to get an incredible preparation as a teacher to teach in the schools that are so close to their hearts. So that's the first place I think about impact. The second one, preparation. It's the second part of our mission. And when I think about the impact that this had on our schools, they have teachers that are prepared on day one to start teaching. Our principals talk about it all the time. Whenever we ask them, like, what do you love about the residency? The teacher was ready. The teacher was prepared. Our coaches talk about it. Their colleagues talk about it too. They love having residents on their team. It's interesting when they plan for the next year, you'll hear these conversations like, yeah, well, this person's saying, this person's saying, this person's leaving, but we're getting a resident, so it's fine. And this other one's coming from, I won't name the program, but let's say a different program. And so we're going to have to make sure that we train them up. And so anyway, in terms of how prepared they are, it has a very strong, deep impact on our school. And it also, in terms of kind of the meta idea of preparation, having a residency program as part of our charter management organization allows a lot of new ideas to flourish and innovation to happen even more strongly, because there are a lot of connections with our instructional coach team, with our principals, with the other leaders in the organization. And so we come at it from a different angle, but we use the same core texts, we use the same tools, and so it allows our program to become even stronger. And finally, the retention of new teachers, the retention of teachers across the board. Our residents are staying longer than our teachers from other programs. And when we look at our internal data points, their student achievement is higher than similar teachers of the same number of years of experience from other programs. Their principal effectiveness evaluation, their principal evaluations, we have a very detailed evaluation system, a robust evaluation system, and on average, our residents score higher on that than similar teachers of similar numbers of years of experience. And so student achievement, teacher retention, the number of years they're staying, and finally what their principals are saying about them and how that's reflected in their evaluations tell us that the program to this point has been successful. And then finally, we have it as one of our organizational goals in terms of people to try to recruit and retain educators that reflect the communities that we serve. So about 85% of our students are students of color, or students that come from non-white backgrounds. And our residency program is also a lever for that. Our current incoming class, 65% of our incoming class of residents will reflect the communities that we serve. And that's a point that I think is important also. So tremendous impact on the organization. And I would just, can go on a little more here. Another point of impact on our organization is it allows the leaders in our organization another chance to grow. 100% of our course instructors are affiliate professors at the university, but they come from our organization. They are coaches, they are principals, they are lead teachers. And so I'll think of one person in particular. who is a math teacher at one of our secondary schools, has also taught science in the past, and that's a passion of his. So he teaches the secondary math and science course for our residents, and he gets to really dive in and kind of geek out on this area that he loves. He gets paid for it, and gets to explore education in a little bit more of a theoretical, kind of a meta way that I think makes him more fulfilled at his job, and that's true for all of our course instructors. It also offers an opportunity for master teachers to become mentor teachers, so they get a little bit extra pay, they get to grow their own practice, and it keeps them in the classroom, but in a way that they can grow still. So just aside from what's happening with the residents, it has a big impact on our organization as well.
Let me look real quick and see if I have anything else I want to ask you.
So you touched briefly on symposium that you're here for this. Tomorrow, what will you go home and hopefully talk to your team about and share with the other members of ATR?
Yeah, so interesting. What will I take away from this symposium? I think more than any of the others, I walked in not knowing what to expect. I did the pre-work, I read the articles, and I looked over the agenda, and I just wasn't able to wrap my mind around, like, what exactly are we doing at this symposium? And it reinforced for me how valuable it is to do this in person, because when I heard the explanation in person about the college and career ready standards and how we need to start thinking about grounding our preparation of teachers in those so that they'll be better prepared in this new world of standards of education, it really became clear to me, and it was interesting. I was reflecting on our program and thinking, this is the next step for us, and how interesting we've had these same conversations inside of our own team, and here is NCTR giving us a new way to look at it. And then this it reminds me of the cycle of inquiry. What is the name for that cycle that she presented, that Kavanaugh presented? Okay, it is called I'm going to call it the learning cycle. Okay, so a second piece is this learning cycle that was presented today. We've been thinking about how to incorporate deep practice and reflection into our preparation of our residents, and I'm really excited to take this cycle back to my team, and I know that we're going to use it. I'm still kind of chewing on some of the pieces and how they'll look, but not only is there a great piece of research that accompanies it, but if you go onto the TED.org website, they have kind of an interactive Prezi type visual presentation of that cycle. So it's all one package that I can walk away with and go back, and my team is going to love geeking out on it. We call ourselves the Power Rangers because we're very geeky, and this is one that we're going to really dive into, and I'm excited about. And I was challenged a little bit too. There were some things I'm not sure I agree with yet. It reminds me of, and I'm geeking out a little bit here, but it reminds me a little bit of the phonics whole language discussion from the early 90s, late 80s, of should you break things into pieces, or should it all be part of this contextualized whole? I see that we've gone this way of Lemov's taxonomy and discrete skills that are broken off and taught and then practiced and then followed up on. And here we're being exhorted to ground it in content and in as close as possible approximations to real world practice, and that's where the real gold is. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, well, okay, and that's not the first thing I want my residents to do. This is down the road, or this is sort of another secondary approach. So I'm kind of wrestling with that right now, but it's very valuable to think about it, and I'm looking forward to taking it back to the team because I know they're going to have some ideas about it, and I think our program will look differently and will look better because of the symposium.